Hey guys, the American Psychedelic back with another video called Truly the Devil's Weed. Ever since I heard of Datura from a friend at school a few years ago, I've always wanted to get a hold of some, asking dealers I knew from around town. But I was never successful, as many people I asked didn't even know what it was. So after a while, I gave up hope and continued with the usual smoking grass every day, occasionally scoring some ketamine or opium to make life a little more interesting. Then last year, I finally got the chance to try the stuff. One of my friends told me that he had gone to stay with his grandparents for a week and noticed a plant near their house that looked a lot like Datura. So he went over to it, and sure enough, he saw the small, spiky pods growing near the bottom of the plant. He himself didn't want to try any because he always feared any sort of allergen because of the risk of the bad trip, but knew I'd been wanting to try it for quite some time. So he picked one of the magical pods and wrapped it up in cellophane and brought them back for me. The bastard wouldn't hand them over unless I paid him $20, but I figured it would be well worth it. I couldn't wait to try them. First thing I did was find someone who would be a sitter for me, and that sitter was the most trustworthy friend I knew. Let's call him Steve. I asked my mom if he could sleep over, and she said it was fine. So the next day, Steve came around noon, and I got the seeds out of the pods and counted 37. I heard it only took like 10 or 15, and I wanted to have more so I could trip another time or sell them, so I decided to take 15. T00.00. Me and Steve went up to my room to take them. We put on some music and sat down in my beanbag chairs. I was feeling confident that things were going to go smoothly, mostly just because Steve was there with me. He was a very responsible person who I felt very safe and secure with. Of course, I had butterflies in my stomach because I was taking something new, but it was mostly excitement. A total I can't wait feeling. As Steve and I talked, I decided it was time and pulled a sandwich baggie out of my pocket. I got all the seeds in my palm and looked at them, little teardrop-shaped things, darkish brown, almost black. I thought to myself, here goes nothing, and licked my palm, and then got all the seeds stuck on my tongue, chewed them up a bit, and swallowed. As they went down, I got this overwhelming feeling of I have finally taken this crazy Datura, and in time I'll be experiencing it. All I could do now was relax, keep the best state of mind I possibly could, and wait for things to kick in. T00.30. I went to the kitchen with Steve to get a drink of water, and then went to the bathroom. No noticeable effects. Steve suggested we play video games until we wait for it to kick in. We went back to my bedroom and played Mario Kart 64 and snacked on some Doritos. T00.50. Starting to feel different. A lot like when you need to stretch really bad, but in my whole body. Mouth is getting dry, very similar to cottonmouth after smoking a thick blunt. Steve is winning the game and I'm losing my grip on my controller, and I can't seem to keep the A button pushed down. After about 10 minutes, I feel much different, very intense, and wondering why Steve is in my room playing a video game. He reminds me that he's sleeping over to watch me because I took Datura. Right after he says this, a wave of shock and fear run down my body like goosebumps, for I had completely forgotten the reason he was there, and that I had taken anything, although I do recall it. I am needlessly to say in shock at what just happened and with my brain. I looked at Steve and said, calm me down, and somehow Steve knew exactly what to do. He just smiled at me in a reassuring smile and said, don't worry, man, you're going to have a blast. This made me feel incredibly better, and my mood shifted. After this, things seemed to go back to normal, and I asked Steve to stop playing video games and go downstairs with me. We go downstairs into the kitchen and pull a full pitcher of cherry Kool-Aid from the fridge. Steve got 2 glasses and then went into the living room and sat down on the couch. I poured both of us a glass and we sip it while watching TV. After I finished my glass, I pick up the pitcher and gulp it down halfway. I am very thirsty, but the drink doesn't seem to quench my thirst at all. It seems to glide over the surface of my mouth and leaving it dry still. I now just try my best to ignore it and continue watching TV. T0130. I tell Steve we'll be right back and walk to the bathroom. While I piss, I look at the picture above my toilet. It's a cartoon of a polar bear lying on its back in the water, holding a wine glass like it fell asleep from being drunk. The concept makes me want to laugh. It seems like the dumbest cartoon to the world in me, and its location is just random as its contents. Why do we have a picture of a drunk polar bear in our bathroom? For some reason, this seems really hysterical to me. I walk out of the bathroom and go to the couch with Steve. As soon as I sit down, my mom walked out of the kitchen and tells us she's going to work and to behave. She'll be back around 10. Steve and I say goodbye and she leaves. Perfect. Now we have the house to ourselves. T0200. Nothing much more seems to be happening. I finished a pitcher of Kool-Aid and gone to the bathroom 2 more times. Steve says to go in the kitchen and refill the pitcher with water in case I feel like I'm going to be dehydrated. It seems like a responsible idea, so I go into the kitchen and refill it with water and put ice cubes in it. I walk back down into the living room to find Steve has left and the TV has been turned off. The entire house is dead silent. When I hear the TV go back on, but the screen is blank, and I hear Steve saying, "Hey, I'm over here." I realize that he's calling me from out in the backyard, so I put my shoes on and go outside. At first, I scanned my backyard for him, but couldn't see him. I couldn't hear him anymore. I suddenly got the idea that Steve had come over for a hide-and-seek game, and at this point I have absolutely no idea that I have taken anything. So I run into the yard looking around for him. Then I speak, come out, wherever you are." Right when I say this, my voice sounds very different, like a person who has gone totally insane. This starts to scare me very much, and Steve is nowhere to be found. I look way across to the other end of my yard. My yard is only about 100 foot by 200 foot area, but now it was a soccer field size. And at the other end I see my dog's pen, a fenced-in area in the corner with all my friends who are straight edge that stopped being friends with me when I started smoking pot. I haven't seen them in so long, so I run towards the pen. They look just as happy to see me as I am to see them, and they let me into the pen. We start talking, and to my surprise, one of them pulls out a blunt out of nowhere and sparks it. I am naturally amused, but shocked, and then start to explain to me that they came to see me because they all got into the game and don't think drugs are bad after all. On the outside, I am pleased to hear this, but on the inside, I begin to feelings of untrust. These bastards abandoned me years back. I don't show any unpleasant feelings on the outside, and I continue to cheery with them, although I keep a state of mind not to trust anyone here. They pass me the blunt and I take a super long hit and hold it super long and blow out. After it went through a few times, we all sparked a cigarette to increase our high. We just kept talking and talking. It seems like time had stopped. How long could people just sit here and talk? It's been hours. I think to myself, strangely enough, I am still puffing on the same cigarette, but don't notice anything unusual about it. Then I drop my butt and it falls onto the chair I'm sitting on. "Aw, shit," I said, and got out on my seat to get it. I look under the chair but can't seem to find it. Did any of you see where as I turn around and notice no one is here, and I am alone in the pen. A sense of anger comes over me and an intense feeling of I shouldn't have trusted them, and how dare they. These feelings are followed by loneliness, then total fear. I need to get out of this pen and back into the house. I walk back to the house across the long field, and it seems to take even longer to go back than when I had come. Next thing I know, I'm back in the kitchen, lying on the floor, very sweaty. Steve is there sitting on the kitchen counter. My focus is very blurred and off, and I feel very confused about why he is there on the counter and I'm on the floor. But every few moments I kind of snap back into reality and know exactly what's going on. Then snap back in delirium and totally forget everything. Next thing I know, it's already 6:46 a.m. and I'm running late. My mom tells me I only got half an hour to get ready or I'll get a Saturday detention. I scramble out of bed and run into the bathroom to take a shower. I suddenly realize how much school is going to suck because I forgot to do all my homework, and I have an oral presentation due today. All these thoughts made me panic, and I know there's no way out of it because I already skipped school 3 times this year and got caught, and I can't skip another day or I have to go to court. I get out of the shower and dry up quickly as I can, and then I run into my room and get dressed and go downstairs to the kitchen. Right then I noticed something was wrong. The clock said 1 a.m. and the calendar was on July. Nobody was up. My mom was still asleep and had been sleeping. She didn't wake me up for school. I didn't have school in the summer. I wish I was dreaming, and then the thoughts in my mind were on the brink of driving me insane. All I remember after this was running back to my room in a total panic, ready to cry and scream, and if one more weird thing happened, I was going to commit suicide. I woke up in my bed with Steve on the floor watching me. He looked very concerned and asked me if I was okay now, if I was still tripping. I didn't know what to say to him, because right then I could have still been tripping for all I know. It was 5 p.m. the next day. I had a bad headache. I couldn't focus on shit. My whole body was in a dreadful, uncomfortable state. It took me a while to collect my thoughts and figured out I was not tripping anymore. I had these series of very strange, realistic dreams stuck in my head from when I was asleep, but I can't for the life of me remember what they are now. I forgot them completely about 4 hours after I woke up. From Steve's point of view, in a nutshell, I started acting weird when I got in the water from the kitchen. He said that he started trying to talk to me, but I would just have a blank stare like I couldn't see him, and then ran outside into my shed in my backyard and started talking to myself. And after an hour or so, I ran out of the shed with this scared shitless look on my face and fell down and crawled back into the house, into the bathroom, and he said I was trying to drink out of the toilet. He pulled me up and carried me to the kitchen and put me down on the floor and got some ice for me. He said I was talking in my sleep and saying random words in no logical order whatsoever, but I was saying them frequently like I knew what I was talking about. Before my mom came home, he carried me upstairs and put me to bed and stayed up to watch me. And he said I was talking out loud and moving around like I was having nightmares. And around midnight, I sprang out of bed and ran into the bathroom and got in the shower for an hour. And then went back into my room and put a shirt on afterwards and some boxers with no pants and ran downstairs and stood in the kitchen for like 10 minutes, just standing there. He said then I freaked out and ran upstairs into my room. And he said he had to push me onto my bed and hold me down until I stopped moving and eventually fell asleep. Then he did. He woke up around 10 that day and I slept until 5. To sum it up in one word, insanity. That's what it feels like if you're starting to snap out of it and realize what's happening. But then you just go back into the state of total confusion and it's enough to drive one crazy. Overall, I'm glad I experienced this so I know what it feels like. But this isn't for everyone, and I'm saying this with experience. I'm not saying the experience was at all pleasant, so I have no motivation to do it again anytime soon. Maybe someday, years from now, just for some crazy fun. But this Datura seems to be something not from this world. The hallucinations were accompanied by delirium and confusion, which made them seem really real and like I wasn't really tripping. This stuff really is the devil's weed.